Marvel Rivals has incredible potential to have an amazing hero roster, and everyone has their personal favorites. Everyone has made their list and posted it on the internet, and I have my own favorites as well. And that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. I'm going to show you all the heroes that I would personally like to see in this game, along with some really cool ideas for their kit that I came up with. I think it's going to be really cool. But before we begin, I just wanted to thank all of you guys for the support on my last video. It was really awesome seeing everybody in the comments giving me their feedback, talking about how they felt about my redesign. It was really awesome to see. I really appreciate your guys' support. And in case you're new here and you haven't watched that video, please make sure to check it out. I'm really proud of the work that I did there. People seem to like it a lot. So let's get on to the video. Number 1 is Deadpool. Now I know Deadpool is a highly requested character. A lot of people want him. That's not just me, but they're right. This character has the potential to be the most fun character in the game. So he for sure deserves a spot in my opinion. And one last thing to note is that this is just my take on it with a couple of ideas. It isn't a finalized kit. Otherwise I would have to do this for everyone and it would take a really long time. It would be a crazy long video. So let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to keep in mind when making Deadpool is making him melee and ranged, not just one or the other. He is a mercenary that can deal with whatever is thrown at him. So the way I see this is he would have 2 weapons. He would have his katanas for a 3-hit combo that can maybe slash through multiple opponents, kind of like Reed Richards' primary but more close range, and a double pistol that he can shoot at people kind of like Star-Lord but with a little bit less burst. And with that in mind, I thought he might need a dash of some sorts, because my idea was that he would shoot people down, chip them a little bit, and then once they were a little bit low, he could pull himself in and try to finish them with a sword slash combo. So I think a cool idea would be to give him a rope of sorts, where he gets to dash at people by roping them and then jumping at them. I feel like that would be a pretty cool move. It could be pretty in line with him as well. We could maybe give him like a cowboy hat during the dash. And I will give it a special functionality where if he dashes to someone that happens to be flying, it turns into kind of like a crotch attack that brings them all the way to the ground, similar to other abilities like Bucky E, for example. But obviously the biggest thing about Deadpool, the hardest thing to tackle, is his healing factor, because realistically he should never die. But I think I came up with a pretty cool idea to integrate that into the game, so let me go over it with you. It's kind of complicated. So what I came up with is that when Deadpool quote-unquote dies, instead of just disappearing from the map and respawning all the way back in spawn, he will be reduced to a head. His entire body would just disappear. He would be just a head, and he would take a little bit of time to regenerate his full body again. So instead of having to wait for your death cooldown to completely, come back and then respawn, you would just be a head. But the twist is, as the head, you can actually move around. You can roll around pretty fast to reposition as you are, regenerating and getting your full body back. So you die, you become a head, roll around, reposition, and go back to your full Deadpool state. I think that would be pretty cool. But obviously, if you got reduced to a head, it would still count as a death in your scoreboard, because otherwise it'd be weird not having any deaths ever. It would mess up the stats pretty bad. But I think this makes it a super cool, interesting idea. I found it a really cool way to integrate the healing problem. I think it could be really fun and unique addition to the game. But I felt like he was missing a little bit of his weaponry. After all, Deadpool shoots all kinds of weapons. He has rocket launchers, he has miniguns. There's so much stuff that he can play with, so I decided to integrate that into his ult in a pretty cool way. When Deadpool ults, what I made is that he opens his little cartoonish, grab bag, and he gets to pick from 3 different weapons. And I think this is a pretty cool way to play the game, because you can kind of adapt to whatever you need. The first weapon would be a rocket launcher, so he would grab that rocket launcher and he would be able to just continuously throw gigantic explosions over the enemy team over 8 seconds. The second weapon that I chose was his actual teleporting ability. If you didn't know, in the comics he used to have a teleporting belt that allows him to teleport about pretty much anywhere, but he got rid of it because it made things a little bit too boring. So I feel like this would be a cool way to bring that from the comics. He could get the teleportation, and it will allow him to teleport around mid-range in front of him for as many times as he wants for the next 8 seconds, and he can just kind of go around and just slash people all over the place. And the last quote-unquote weapon would be a boombox. He would pull out a boombox and start playing some horrible classic Deadpool music, whatever you think that might be. I'm not sure yet, but it would play in some big AoE range around him, and it will basically slow everybody around him as well. I'm still not 100% what other effects it could be. I don't want to make it super broken, but in my drafts here, as I'm reading this, my ideas were maybe it taunts people, like it forces you to dance. Maybe not permanently because that would be too OP, but maybe periodically, every couple of seconds, you are forced to dance. Or maybe when he plays the music and you get within range, maybe Deadpool just kind of shows up in your screen and gets all up in your face and you can't like see what's in front of you. I feel like that could be a pretty cool way as well. Feels very Deadpool. So let me know what you guys thought about those ideas. I thought it was pretty cool. And lastly, for team-ups, obviously one that a lot of people are going to want is Deadpool and Wolverine, right? For obvious reasons, they just make a great pair. And my take on that is actually a reversal of the Hulk team-up, where Wolverine actually gets to throw Deadpool at somebody. I feel like that would be pretty funny to just have the inverse of an ability. I feel like that could be pretty cool. You can also use it to just save yourself, right? If you're too deep in the enemy team, you can use it to maybe save yourself, or you can just throw Deadpool at people. I feel like that'd be pretty funny in itself. Now, moving on to number 3. They're probably my first or second favorite here of the bunch, or just the one that I want the most, is Mysterio. Mysterio could make for such an awesome character, and in my take, he is a Vanguard. So let's see what I have here. I really want him to be tricking the enemy team constantly, turning them against themselves, playing tricks. I feel like that will be, kind of the main idea behind him. So the first ability that I thought of was actually, since he's a tank, I'm making him a shield tank. So think of it as kind of like the Emma Frost shield, where you can kind of like hover around and place it. But the twist for Mysterio shield is that it's actually a transparent, invisible shield. So from the enemy's perspective, you could all be behind the shield. You could be running around shooting stuff, but the enemy can't see you because it's basically an invisible wall. It kind of just goes for a really kind of illusion ability. I feel like that could be really cool. There could be a lot of ways that you could utilize this to maybe, flank the enemy team, or just hide in a certain room and then all jump the enemy team at the same time. This could be, I feel like, a really cool ability to join the game. And then some couple other ideas that I found. I feel like maybe a flash or a blind ability similar to Cloak could be cool. I feel like that could fit Mysterio pretty well. And also, I know one thing that people have been kind of asking about is if the game is going to introduce anti-heal. And if they, plan on doing that, I think Mysterio could be a good opportunity to do that. I feel like that could fit him well. Maybe some kind of poison gas, with damage over time, where everybody inside it kind of gets less healing. I feel like that could be pretty cool if you balance it correctly, of course. But for the ult is where I think it gets pretty crazy. So these ideas have all been thrown out there, by the way. I'm not going to say that I came up with them. I just think they're really cool, and I'm, kind of giving my own interpretation of them. But the first one that I thought of is the ultimate where all players turn into Mysterios. For a short period of time, you can't really tell who's who. And this obviously, of course, only applies to the enemy team. They see themselves as Mysterios. They see the enemy team as Mysterios. You have no idea what's going on. You know who's who. I feel like that could be a pretty cool ability if used at the right time. Of course, the health bars would also be a problem, so we kind of have to maybe remove that or make it so you see everybody as just 250 HP. Could be super cool. And of course, if you want to get even more wild, another idea that's been thrown out there by a lot of people is friendly fire. Maybe Mysterio just activates friendly fire and everybody can just shoot each other. Maybe just on the enemy team, or if you want to balance it out more, you can maybe even make it so everyone in the game has friendly fire. But then I don't know, maybe people might get mad if you lock in Mysterio in your game. So it kind of is up to you guys. I don't know what would be the best idea here. Now for team ups, I could really narrow down one specific ability, but just for potential characters that he can interact with in team ups. I feel like other Sinister Six members, if they ever come into the game, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, could all be cool. Maybe with Spider-Man himself, we could do something one of these seasons. Could also maybe fit with Loki, since he's also kind of like a deceptive kind of character, or even Doctor Strange. So there are a lot of options when it comes to team ups with this guy. Now, before we get on to number 4, if you're enjoying the video and you're new here, please make sure to subscribe, drop that like button, check out my other videos in this channel. I have a lot of cool stuff for you guys to check out. I would appreciate it. It would mean the world to me. So let's keep going. Now, for number 4 is a character that a lot of people are wondering how you could even integrate such a character into the game due to his powers, and that's Quicksilver. Quicksilver is a pretty cool character. He has lots of potential, and in my take, I think he could be a really cool Vanguard. So let's see what I made. So first of all, for his primary, I feel like it only fits that he has kind of like a really fast flurry of attacks. I imagine it similar to Iron Fist. His right click when he deflects something, he gets to punch really fast afterwards. That's kind of how I see it, except you can maybe give him a little bit less damage because Iron Fist, his whole deal that he chops down tanks like it's nothing. So Quicksilver should be just kind of like a base damage sort of thing. And what makes him a good tank in my kit is that I actually gave him a passive that gives him charges. So he has momentum charges, and the way he gains momentum is by just tanking damage. His abilities give him extra HP, and by tanking other abilities with extra HP specifically, you gain momentum. And with that momentum, you can convert it into things that help your allies. So let's see what that is. So first of all, he has 2 charges of a really kind of like a speed dash at people. If he uses it at an opponent, he does damage. If he uses it at an ally, he gives them extra armor and a slight, very small movement speed buff. And obviously, if you use it both ways, it doesn't really matter. Quicksilver himself will gain that extra HP as well. So I feel like that would be a pretty cool way of making him move around the team fight pretty fast. And then his E ability would be another dash, but I know that he's a really dash heavy character. That's why I specifically imagine him being, slightly low base HP, but he gains lots of extra HP. That's kind of how I see it. If you play correctly and move around correctly, he gets to be pretty OP. I see him as kind of like a hard character to play. The way this E dash would work is that if you use it towards enemies, you would basically kind of like burst into them and then knock them down for a couple of seconds. Or if you use it at an ally, you grab your ally, give them that extra HP, and you move them away towards something. You move away towards whatever direction that you are looking at. I feel like that'd be pretty useful. He's kind of gets to adapt on whether he wants to attack the enemy team or protect a teammate. I feel like that'd be pretty cool. And you can do that all super fast due to the dashes, of course. And then his shift ability, I imagine it to be kind of similar to the Mr. Fantastic shift, where he stretches up and gets to absorb damage. But the way I see it is that he uses his phasing. So if he presses shift, he goes into like a kind of like a stance where he stands his ground, starts phasing, and everything kind of just goes through him. And the more things that go through him, the more momentum that he gets for that. So I think that's also a pretty big way to build momentum. And once the momentum is full at 100, he gets to explode in a short burst of speed where every single ally around him gains a big burst of speed and they get to move around super fast. I feel like that would be a pretty cool idea. And for his ultimate, to even further his utility, because this is the main idea that I had to make him a utility tank, is he would start running around in a big circle similar to kind of like Psylocke ult, where you can slowly move around the location of the circle as you go, and he would automatically deflect every single projectile that gets shot at his teammates super fast. He would basically just zip around deflecting everything, and he gets to move around while he does it. And every ally inside the circle also gets a big movement speed boost. I feel like that's a pretty cool way of integrating his super speed. I feel like there's lots of dashes here, so you move really fast, but if you hit everything, you do a lot. There's lots of utility. You can be aggressive, you can be defensive. I feel like I reached a pretty good middle ground here for the character, and I think it's really cool. So let me know what you guys thought of it. So that's my list of characters. There's obviously a lot more that I want in this game. So some honorable mentions here before we end. Ant-Man will be awesome. Daredevil, super cool. I saw some people in the comments saying that they really want Daredevil as well. I agree. Bullseye will be awesome. War Machine could be a cool flying tank. Green Goblin, Sandman, Jubilee, Taskmaster, Doctor Doom. He's also probably going to come eventually. But those are all characters that I wanted to include, but the video will be way too long. So if you guys want a part 2, let me know. I will be more than happy to make a part 2 of this. This was tons of fun. Researching characters. It was awesome. But if you liked the video, please make sure to drop that like button. If you're new, please make sure to subscribe. It will mean the world to me. I love your guys' support. And I'll see you all in the next video.